Welcome back, everybody. Tim Berry here. Baywatch Arms and Accessories and Baywatch Custom Powder Coating. Hope you all having a good day. I am going to show you, this is going to be tutorial number 4, and what I'm going to do is show you how to make a template in Adobe Illustrator that is specifically for this tumbler. You may prefer just to use a standard template, but this one's not as easy to see. But if you look, well, let me try this way. You may not can see it, but these side walls here taper and get smaller as they go to the bottom. So what that does is, if you have a flat template that you're going to wrap around here or decal to lay down your powder, when it gets starts getting towards the edges or the sides, it starts coming above the edge of the cup. So with this template, it'll be exact every time, and you can. It's not necessarily complicated, but when you're doing a design, if you had a design that wanted to go all the way around, okay, and you started up here in the front and you had your design was flat, okay, when it gets back over this way, it's going to start going up, and it's going to continue to go up because this has a wedge. So with this template that I'm going to show you, that should eliminate that. Actually, it should eliminate it completely. And I'll show you. But what you're going to need some kind of a square. You're going to need a razor blade of some sort, or scissors, or whatever. You're going to need some tape. And you're going to need a piece of vinyl, a piece of paper. I just take this vinyl off of my vinyl cutter, and I'm going to measure this, and then I cut it to size. This is 15 inches from left to right, and right at 6 inches from top to bottom. Now that's plenty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around and tape one side of it, and we want to just wrap it so, you know, about center. I know that it's going to go up, so maybe just a tad bit below center, and then we're going to tape that like that. So I'm going to get me a couple pieces of tape. I'm going to use 4 little pieces. If I can find the end of this. This is, actually, if I had regular old masking tape, I would use that, because this blue heat sensitive tape is not the cheapest in the world. But it works really good for its purpose. So there's my 4 pieces of tape. Now I'm going to take this and wrap it, okay? So I'm going to get a starting point and just kind of wrap it and look at it and see how it does, because you can see how it climbs as it goes up. That doesn't mean that it's not straight. That means that it is straight on here, and it's that taper that's making that do that. So I'm just going to hold that like that, feel around, make sure it's all flat up against there. Hold on to this end and put some tape on it. I want to hold that end to the tumbler. Okay. Now, this is where you want to be a little bit extra cautious. Make sure that you'll be able to know, but if you'll pull down, you see it's got starts bowing at the bottom, you pull up, it's going to bow at the top. So you want to make sure it's flush all the way around, and then wrap it really tight. And tape it again. Now, if you were able to, just a little note here. This isn't the wrap that came on this tumbler. This is an Ozark 30-ounce tumbler. This is an off-brand, but I don't know if you could see it, but it has a arc to the top. And if you were able to get these off in one piece, then you could possibly use this. But we're going to do it this way because, well, just because. So I'm going to come in here with my razor blade and I'm just going to cut in through my vinyl, and I'm going to hold my edge down on the top of the tumbler and just cut around. Now, because I'm using the vinyl from my cutter, when I get to where it's overlapped, it's going to be a little thicker. Now, and then this is exactly what we want. We want it flush right to the top. And I'm going to come over here and go around this again just to make sure that it is trimmed good. Now, this is the part that you want to be a little careful when you're cutting this, okay? Because our next cut is going to be a vertical cut right here somewhere. And we want to make sure when you cut it that you're going to get everything you need, because you can see how this goes under there right here and then there. So when I cut, I want to make sure that I'm cutting in the right place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this square and lay it on there, and I'm going to cut from the top down to the bottom. Now when I do that, I'm going to have to turn it away. But what you want is if I had a longer square that was stable, to see this one I would prefer to do this, but you see that's not stable up there, okay? Because if I wanted, that would be the better way to get a completely vertical line without any issues. So you just have to kind of hold it offset like that. Look at your line, make sure, because see this is more stable because it's wider right here. So I'm going to cut from here down to the bottom, and I'm not going to be able to reach in that top corner, so I'm going to have to come and cut that after. But I want to make sure that this is square or perpendicular. And I'll probably, just for safety, go over it twice, because I am cutting through 2 layers, because that's where it overlaps. Now you can see the very top didn't cut, so I'm going to come back and finish that off. Okay, so that cut. Now, I'm going to peel this off, throw it in the trash. I'm going to leave this little flap on here for right now, but I'm going to check this and see what I did. Now, if you look, when I check this, see, it doesn't wrap. Now, it's because I believe I got it upside down. Now, when I put it right side up, there my 2 ends join. My 2 ends join, everything's flat, there's no bows in it, and that's what we're looking for. So the next step, we'll remove that little flap. I don't need that anymore. you can see the curve in the top of that. Okay, curves up. This is the top. Now what we need to do is we need two measurements off of this. We need from the right corner here to the left corner, that width, and we need the distance from the corner to the top of the arc. Now, I got a 36-inch ruler, and I'm going to measure this. Well, actually, I'm going to do this differently. What I'm going to do is, see if I can show you this way. I'm going to line this ruler up with the corners of the template. Okay, and you can see that's your arc. Now I'm going to measure that arc height-wise. That is the key, one of the keys. So I'm going to measure that height-wise and write it down. Okay, where's my other ruler? Now I'm going to find the center, or close to the center, and I'm going to measure that. And I am reading that at 5/16. Actually, it's just shy of 5/16. I mean, so I'm going to call it 5/16. Okay. So write that down. I'm going to call it a 5/16 crown. Now, Adobe Illustrator doesn't work that well with fractions, so we're going to convert that, and that converted is 0.3125. So we got 5/16, which equals 0.3125 for the crown. Now, if you want to verify this yourself, just take 5 divided by 16, and you should come up with that number. If it would be different if I'm wrong. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this from one corner to the other corner and see what I get. And this ruler is got some stuff on it, so I'm going to just put a little line there and read it off of this one. So the corner and I'm just going to make a little mark. That's 12 inches, and I'm going to slide over to the corner here, and that is, let's see, it is about a 1/16 shy of 3/4, so my brain ain't working today, so it'd be 11/16. So my distance is 12 and 11/16. And I'm going to check that again. I'm going to count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8, and halfway in between. So 5/8 would be 10/16. Add a 16th, 11/16. Now, I don't know that fraction to decimal off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to do the math, which is 11, should be like 9.3 something. 11 divided by 16 is, so we're 12.6875. Now, be sure to verify that. 12 and 11/16 equals 12.6875. I wouldn't want to tell you wrong or steer you wrong. So now what we need to do is measure the depth from top to bottom of our template. What we want to do. Now this one, the Ozark has a pretty dominant bevel right there, but it's not a real hard corner. So, but we want to measure down to that. And the measurement that I'm getting is, I'm just going to call it actually it is 3 and 11/16. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. We'll have to convert that again. So that is 3 and 11/16, which would be 3.6875. So just to refresh, okay, our width left to right is 12 and 11/16. That's a horizontal measurement from there to there, not with the crown. Horizontal measurement. Okay, the crown from the top edge here to this corner vertical is 5/16, which is also converts to 0.3125. Okay, and the depth we want to go with this template is 3 and 11/16, which converts to 3.6875. Now, the next phase of this, and I'm going to show you again. See, this is the top. I'm going to wrap this around, and I'm just going to verify that everything works like it's supposed to. And it does. Now, as with most tumblers, okay, there's a little taper right here, and you're going to have that. You can see that moving a little bit. You're still going to have that, which means when you go to apply this vinyl for your powder coating template, there's going to be some wrinkles up in here, but there shouldn't be any at the bottom. So I'm going to set that aside. Now when I come back, we're going to take this, and we're going to be working with Adobe Illustrator, and we're going to take this and turn it into our full wrap template. Okay, one note here. If you need this to be a little bit wider, because when you wrap it around, and I can't say how this is going to react until you get it, but see, it does touch. Okay, well actually, I mean, it's like a 64th of an inch right there that don't touch. And if you need a pattern that's going to be one pattern and go all the way around, and this end, which means this end and this end are identical, so when they wrap, they're going to look like one. You may need to add a 1/16 of an inch here and a 1/16 of an inch here, just so they have a little overlap, and then you can deal with that when you're in Illustrator. So, but the next phase of this is going to be Adobe Illustrator and making this template work for that Ozark 30. So I'll see you in a few minutes. I'm going to get everything set up, and I'll be back when I have Adobe Illustrator up and ready to go. Bye. Well, it's not bye, it's just see you in a few minutes. Okay, let's try this again. My computer, well, not my computer, but my Illustrator crashed, and I had to restart it. So here we are. This is just a pattern that I've been working on. It's a mossy oak bottomland, and if I turn off the original image, you can see all the drawing that's been done, and basically I'm just tracing over. This one is going to end up having 3 colors, and right now I'm about 6 lines. I'm doing an inch at a time, so this is actually an inch right here, 1 inch, if that gives you any idea of what the pattern is going to be. But if y'all want to see a tutorial on this one, just leave me a message in the comments, and it may be a few weeks before I get this one finished up, but I will gladly do a tutorial on how I did this from start to finish, and that way you can make your own, or you'll be able to, if you're a Patreon member, you'll be able to download this once I get it completed. So, but anyway, let's get back to the tumbler. And what we're going to do is we're going to do File, New, and we're going to start a new file or new project or new document, they call it. Now the dimensions here for the height and width are 8 by 15. We're just going to leave that alone, but I do want to change that artboard, and we're going to create this new document. Now there's the new document, and first thing I want to do is bring my rulers up. So I'm going to do a Control R. That brings my rulers on the top and the bottom. We want to change this layer, the name of this layer, to Guides. And I use magenta, so there. Now I'm going to bring down a top guide. And I'm going to bring it down to the top, which should be set at 0 in the Y. The X doesn't matter at this point. And now I'm going to refer to, let's see, this one is 15 wide, so I'm going to bring another guide to the center, which would be in the X direction, it would be 7.5. So we're just going to change it up here. And the only reason I'm doing the 15 is because that's just what this artboard was set to be. Now we want to reference back to the vinyl that I cut earlier to do this. So the width on this was 12 and 11/16, which converted to a decimal was 12.6825. Now I want to take that number, which was 12.6875. I may have said 25 just a minute ago. And I'm going to divide that by 2. And that is 6.3437. So we're going to take this vertical guide that we just put in here, and we're going to do an edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and then we'll go back up here to the coordinate where that's at. We're going to back out of the IN, and we're going to do a minus 6.3437. And that should put one over here somewhere. Now we're going to do another edit and paste in place. Now this time we're going to go back up to this coordinate system here, back out of the IN, but we're going to do a plus 6.3437. Now we've got our top left corner and our top right corner, and that dimension is total is 12.6875. Now what we want to do is we want to bring down, well, no, we're not going to bring down, we're just going to select this guide, do an edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and we're going to move that down for the crown, okay? And that dimension was 5/16. Converted to decimal is 0.3125. So this is currently setting at 0. So we just get rid of all that and we do 0.3125. Now that's our reference. So our crown goes from here up to here and down to here. And what we're going to do now is go to our curvature tool. We're going to go up to our strokes, since we're up here. I'm just going to select red. I think for this, I'm just going to leave this at 1. And we're going to double click on this intersect point. Single click here at this intersect point. Well, I double click, so I'm going to change it. Now I am going to double click on that. And now what I want to do is I want to take this last one, which I really should have put this in another layer, but I will in a minute. Actually, we're going to be getting rid of that shortly. So now we want to do a select, deselect. Okay, so this here. Now we're going to reference to the depth. We want this vinyl to fit on the upper portion of the tumbler, and that depth was 3 11/16, or converted 3.6875. Okay, so now we're going to select this again, and you can see it activated, and you don't really need to worry about this tag line that's there. And we're going to do an object, path, offset path, and we are just going to do 3.6875. Now this should offset it in the up direction, and so I'm going to do this but I may back out of this. Okay, so I'm going to back out of that, do a Control Z, and I'm going to see if this makes a difference. We got this, and it's active. Object, path, offset path. We're going to do a minus 3.6875, and then hit enter. And it basically does the same thing. Okay, it's offsetting in both directions. So if you put in the positive or negative number there, it doesn't really matter. It's going to offset in both directions. So now what we want to do is I'm going to lock those last two that I did, okay? And I'm going to take this guide here. I'm going to go to my selection tool. I'm going to go to this guide here and highlight it and just get rid of it, okay? Because the next part is going to be for our registration marks. Okay, so if we did this right, we're going to highlight this guide, do an edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and we're going to move it down the distance in the Y that our offset was, which would be 3.6875. And when I hit enter, it should put that line right there. And it did, okay? Now, we need a 1/4 inch spacing, so we're going to take this guide, highlight it, edit, copy, edit, paste in place, go up to Y coordinate and do a minus 0.25, and then we're going to select this one and do an edit, copy, edit, paste in place. we're going to go to the Y and do a plus 0.25. Okay. And now we want to work with this one here. So we're going to select this one, edit, copy, edit, paste in place. And in the X direction, we're going to do a minus up here, 0.06. And then we're going to do another paste in place. And we're going to do a plus 0.06. Okay. So now you can do one of two things. You can either leave this expanded, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and collapse it and lock the whole thing. And I'm going to make a new layer. And this one is going to be called registration marks. And I'm going to go use the magenta. And that's just what I always do. Now I want to go to my curvature tool. I want to go to my line, stroke, and fill. I don't want any fill on the line, but I do want a stroke. I'm going to leave it at 1 inch, but I want it, because this one is red, I'm going to go ahead and do it a different color, which is black. And we can change that back at any time. So what we're going to do is, because we've got these other, we had all this on the guys layer, all this up here will be locked. So we're going to go to this intersect, or this anchor point. Let's zoom in. Okay, the anchor point there, double click, go up here to this intersect, double click, and you see you got a curved line. So we're going to go to approximately the center, and we're going to grab that and move it up till it's curved and attached to that line. Now we're going to go to this intersect, double click, this intersect, double click, go to the end or the corner, find the anchor point, double click, scroll back a little bit. Now, when I'm scrolling, I'm just pushing my finger on the control button. So nothing on the control key, and you use your mouse scroll up and down. If you want to scroll left and right, hold down the control key. So let's get to about the center, and we can zoom in. We're going to grab this line. So when you grab, you can see I got that tag on the end of this line. But when it jumps up and says path, if you hold down, a little dot will show up, and we're just going to drag it. And when it meets there, you can see that it's centered, and then release it. Now we're going to do the same thing here. Double click and zoom in as much as you want, because when I'm zooming, you want to hold down the Alt key and scroll with your mouse for the zoom. And the more you zoom in, the better it'll be for you when you start attaching some of this stuff. So the double click there, double click there. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to find the center of this one approximately. Drag that up. Now we're going to go to the far left corner on the bottom. And anchor point there. Scroll back to around the center. You don't have to be exact center on this, but you want to be as close as possible. There's nothing going to mark up a center line for you or anything like that, but grab that line, pull it up, and you can see that when I'm moving this and it snaps to that point, that my cursor will move just a little bit, and you'll be able to see when you're off, because the underlying line will show, because we've got them set up in different color. Now when I double click this, well, should have just single clicked. So I double clicked that, got out of there. Now we could, let's turn off these guides just to see what we got and do a deselect. That's our template right there. But we're not done. We want to get rid of the old stuff that we don't need anymore, which is the paths that we left in the guides. And you can see down here it says nothing but guides, so we're good there. Now, I particularly like using red, so I'm going to highlight this red, this black, and change it to red, and change it to a 0.5, which is what I like to use, and then do a deselect. Now you can see that we've got our corners. We don't have the inside corner, but we've got our outside corners. If you wanted to, you could come over here to guides. Well, actually, let's undo that because I was in the wrong layer there. Go back to your layers guides, your guide layer, and attach you one there, and attach you one there. Now, the other thing we're going to want to do is set a distance that we don't want to get here, to how close we want to get here. And I would say between 1/8 of an inch and 1/16, 3/16. But you got to remember that the further your distance is, the smaller your pattern's going to be. So we're going to come to the selection tool, and we're going to pick this guide, and we're going to do an edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and we're going to move it 3/16 of an inch, which is a plus 0.31. No, I'm sorry. It is a plus 0.1875. It's 3/16 of an inch. We're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to select it, edit, copy, edit, paste in place. But where this time in the Y, we're going to do a minus 0.1875. And the only thing that is done is when you bring in a drawing in here and you're scaling it to fit, this is just a reference guide that says, okay, I need to stop right here. I'm going to have problems. You can push it a little bit, but you only want to push it as little as possible. You want to keep it a fair distance away from there so you don't have issues. Now, the other thing you want to do here is, you don't have to do this, but activate your artboard, which is down here. That's your artboard tool. Now I'm going to drag this in until it hits this corner at the top. Same thing over this way. Scroll to the left and do that. I've already got one at the top, so I'm going to take this bottom one and move it to there. Now, I also want to make this just a little bit bigger, and the reason I do that is because when I go into my vinyl software, if my registration mark is the same distance or right on the same mark as my artboard, when I import into that software, it doesn't let me see this line, so I make it a little bit bigger. So I've got the artboard, and all I'm going to do is go up here to the width and do plus 0.1, and then into the Y, or the height, I'm going to do a plus 0.1. And now let me get out of that, or deactivate that, I should say. Now you can see that right here, my artboard is bigger, doesn't interfere, and I'm going to lock this, Now this is the artboard that you need. Now, or your template. So we're going to do a save as right now, just to make sure we don't lose this and have to start over. So it is going to be, I'm going to give it this name here. I actually started this and realized I needed to do something different. So there's already a file here, but we're going to overwrite it. It is one artboard, template, full wrap, Ozark tumbler, 30 ounce, and it's the upper section, and this is template number 1. And I'm just going to save it right there. It's going to ask me to override it. I'm going to say yes, which it shouldn't ask you that. And then we're going to click OK. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and get a jump on this when you when you bring it in, you don't have to create layers. There's a couple of things you can do. Is you can you can create some layers now. One of the layers that I use, I'm going to have one that is called original image. And I'll make that magenta. And then I'll have another layer called details. And you just want to double click on over there where it says layer 4 on the little white square. And it'll pop up this dialog box. And I'll move these around. Usually I keep the original image right at the bottom. And then I'll do guides, and then registration marks, and then details. Now, I'm going to lock all these. I'm going to do a save. And the reason I do this is what it is. My registration mark, well, I can't turn it up, blind it because, well, I should have been able to. It's locked, and I'm going to turn off the visibility. Okay, now that's gone. I don't have an original image up there yet, but I do have guides, and I like to separate these as much as possible. You can consider it being a little anal. But what I use the details for is when I'm doing the drawing itself and I'm saving it. It's like, you may have 4 separate drawings that are associated with this tumbler, and I'll label them. Down here, if this was the first template, I would put a 1F down here in the bottom. If it was the second one, so it would be a 2. If I was doing a 2-sided, I would have a 1F and a 1R. And what that's doing is it's giving me the direction on when I need to put the stencils on so I can powder coat. So this one is complete right now. This is a full wrap. So you can have your drawing go from one side here to the other side here. Okay. If you wanted it, and this, I'd have to test this out, because I'm not sure, is this wraps completely around. So if you were to draw something like from the center of here to the center of here, it may curve because the way this wraps. So if you were wanting something to be perfectly straight when you put it on, and it was like, if you wanted something to be 2 inches or 1 inch from the edge all the way around, what you're going to end up doing is having to take this arc, this registration mark, okay, and we've got that highlighted, and what you would end up doing would be offsetting it. So you're going to do an object, path, offset, and let's say -1, and you can see what it did. Now what you would end up doing is just using this as a guide to make you an arc across there. and then you're going to go to the text tool and do text on a path. But that's for a whole nother tutorial. And we're not going to mess with that today. So this one is done. As soon as I get it posted and uploaded, it'll also be available on the Patreon website, which is patreon.com/Baywatch Arms, which is it is a paid membership, but you do get some exclusives. Is just like this file. If you didn't care about learning how to draw this file and you just wanted to download it, it will be there available to download. No fees, no nothing for the download. It's just like a monthly membership fee. It has two levels, a $1 level and a $5 level per month. So, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I have a tendency to drag on, but please subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification bell, and you will be notified when a new video posts. And I hope y'all have a great day. Again, don't forget to subscribe. We're Baywatch Arms and Accessories and Baywatch Custom Powder Coating. Take care, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.